Run from my son. Those were the last words Clara's mother-in-law whispered with a trembling breath before the heart monitor flatlined. Now, with Evelyn gone, Clara begins to uncover the chilling truth behind the warning. Secrets buried in locked drawers, whispers of a girl who vanished years ago, and a smiling husband who may not be who he seems. As the walls close in, Clara must decide: trust the man she married, or believe the dying woman who tried to save her. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales and Stories. Please subscribe and leave a like for us. It means the world to us. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. The hospice room was cloaked in that quiet that only exists around the dying, a silence not born from peace, but from anticipation. Machines hummed softly. The window cracked open just an inch, let in the warm breath of the late summer breeze, stirring the sheer white curtains like ghostly fingers reaching inward. Clara sat by the bedside of her mother-in-law, Evelyn Hayes, gripping the frail woman's hand. Evelyn's skin was paper-thin, her veins dark beneath the surface, like faded rivers on a map. Her breathing was shallow and irregular. Tubes trailed from her nose and wrists, and the green heart monitor displayed a weakening rhythm, fragile, erratic, fading. Despite the physical deterioration, Evelyn's mind had been remarkably lucid in her final days. She'd spoken in clipped riddles, hinted at past regrets, and had started looking at Clara in a way that felt like more than just familial affection, like fear and urgency mingled behind her pale eyes. Clara, emotionally exhausted and heavy with the weight of watching someone die by inches, leaned in and whispered, "Do you want water, Evelyn?" Evelyn didn't answer. Instead, her fingers suddenly clamped down around Clara's wrist-tight, bony, and surprisingly forceful. Her cloudy eyes snapped open, locking with Clara's. For a second, Evelyn looked almost awake. Her lips trembled. Her throat worked as though words were stuck, struggling to surface. Clara leaned in closer, startled. "What is it? What do you need?" Evelyn's voice came as a hoarse whisper, dragged through dust and time, but the words were unmistakable. "Run from my son." Clara blinked. "What?" Evelyn's grip tightened. Her gaze burned. Not delirious, but intentional. "Run from Daniel." And then her fingers released. Her head fell back onto the pillow with a long exhale. The heart monitor screamed a single high note. "Flatline." A nurse rushed in as Clara sat motionless, unable to process what she had just heard. Evelyn was gone. Daniel arrived 10 minutes later, his shirt wrinkled from the drive, dark circles under his eyes. He wrapped his arms around Clara and pulled her into his chest. She didn't hug him back. She felt hollow. Her brain played those last 3 words on repeat. "Run from my son." Daniel held her tighter, kissed the top of her head. "I'm sorry, baby. I didn't make it in time." Clara forced herself to nod. She couldn't speak. Her lips were dry, her mind distant. That whisper didn't feel like a hallucination. It felt like a warning. And somewhere deep inside her, something began to unravel. The old house creaked like it was morning. Clara stood in the foyer of Evelyn's Victorian-style home, the silence pressing down on her chest like humidity before a storm. Though the neighborhood had modernized, Evelyn's house remained defiantly old-fashioned faded wallpaper, oil paintings of grim ancestors, and antique furniture that looked as though it might collapse if stared at too hard. Clara had come alone, telling Daniel she needed to sort through some of Evelyn's things, but the truth was more complicated. That dying whisper, "Run from my son," had infected her like a splinter under the skin. She hadn't told Daniel, couldn't. Every time she looked at him now, she heard Evelyn's voice in the back of her mind like a warning bell, urgent and cold. Upstairs, in Evelyn's bedroom, dust danced lazily in shafts of late-afternoon sunlight. The room smelled of lavender and old books. The bed was made, tucked tight, just the way Evelyn used to insist, even when she was in too much pain to do it herself. Clara opened drawers, peered behind framed pictures, scanned the top of the wardrobe for anything unusual. Nothing seemed out of place until she tried the bottom drawer of the antique oak dresser. locked. It didn't match the others, which opened easily and contained folded scarves, yellowed nightgowns, and unopened bottles of lotion. This drawer was different, heavier, as though guarding something. Clara knelt, trying the handle again, and noticed the faintest scratch marks along the wood grain, where someone had inserted a key many times. Her fingers tingled. But where was the key? She searched the room methodically, guided by instinct more than logic. Then she remembered something Evelyn had once said in passing, while half asleep after chemo. The truth is always underfoot. At the time, Clara assumed it was metaphorical. Now, it felt like something more. Dropping to the floor, she reached under the bed. Her hand grazed something rough, wooden with a small Lipa false panel. She tugged gently, and it lifted, revealing a tiny velvet pouch. Inside, a brass key, tarnished with age. Her pulse quickened. With a shaking hand, Clara inserted the key into the lock. It turned smoothly with a soft click. The drawer creaked open. Inside was a trove of secrets. There were 5 leather-bound diaries, each carefully labeled by year, starting from 1995 up to 2010. Beneath them lay a manila envelope filled with newspaper clippings. Clara reached for the top one, dated July 2004. Local teen Lily Carter missing last, seen near Stone Lake. The headline was grim. The photo-grainy young girl, maybe 15 or 16, with curls and a crooked smile. Clara had never heard the name before. Beneath the clippings were photographs, dozens of them. Some were faded Polaroids, others 4:6 prints from drugstore processing. In many of them, Clara recognized a younger Daniel, no older than 16, arms slung casually around the same girl from the newspaper. Lily. Clara stared, stunned. The familiarity in Daniel's facial grin she had once found charming now looked different, calculated. She picked up one of the diaries and flipped to a bookmarked page. Evelyn's handwriting was tight, elegant, and laced with unease. June 18th, 2004. Daniel came home late again, clothes muddy, scratches on his neck. He said he got into a fight at the lake with some boys, but I don't believe him. He looked euphoric. I saw Lily yesterday. She had a bruise on her cheek. When I asked, she avoided my eyes. I'm afraid something is wrong. Clara closed the diary slowly, the weight of it nearly suffocating her. Another entry caught her eye, scrawled at the back of the same book. If I disappear or if something happens to me, it's Daniel, my son, my only child. I've failed him, and now I fear he will make me regret ever hiding the truth. Clara sat back on the floor, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. She couldn't breathe. This wasn't just a troubled boy. This was something darker. Daniel had never mentioned Lily, not once, not in the 5 years they'd been married. She carefully put everything back into the drawer and locked it. As she turned off the light and stepped into the hallway, her phone vibrated. Daniel, hey, you heading home soon? Miss you. She stared at the message. Her thumb hovered over the reply button, and Evelyn's final words came back louder now, as if carried on the wind. Run for my son. That night, Clara lay in bed next to Daniel, her body stiff beneath the covers, her mind racing. Every creak of the house made her flinch. The warmth of his body beside her, once a comfort, now felt like proximity to danger. He slept soundly, as if the world weighed nothing on his conscience. She watched him breathe so easy, so peaceful. She turned her back to him and stared at the moonlit outline of the curtains. Evelyn's diaries and the box of clippings were hidden in her car trunk, locked and wrapped in an old blanket. She hadn't dared bring them inside. By morning, Clara made up an excuse to avoid breakfast, said she had errands to run and drove straight to a nearby library. She didn't want to risk using the home computer. Too traceable, too close. Sitting at a dusty public terminal, she typed into the search bar, Lily Carter, missing 2004, Stone Lake. The first few results were just old police bulletin's language, sterile facts. Last seen walking home from a summer party. Foul play suspected but unconfirmed. No body recovered. But then a link caught her attention. In loving memory of Lily Blog Archive, last updated 2013. She clicked. The page was simple. White background, black text, a broken image link at the top where a photo once had been. It looked abandoned. My name is Helen Carter. I started this blog when my daughter Lily went missing in July 2004. She was 16, a junior in high school. She loved poetry, had a bad habit of biting her pen caps, and wanted to be a veterinarian. Clara scrolled, eyes locked on every word. Police investigated the usual suspects. They talked to friends, to her boyfriend, Daniel Hayes. They said they couldn't find evidence to hold anyone. Clara's stomach turned. Boyfriend, Daniel. After a few months, the case went cold. Daniel moved away for college. His mother stopped returning our calls. We never got answers. Clara leaned back, pulse loud in her ears. She hadn't known Daniel in high school. They met as adults. He told her only the basic things raised by a single mom. Loved books, liked camping, had no siblings. He told her he'd never been in a serious relationship before. That had been a lie. Hands trembling, Clara clicked on an older blog post titled Her Smile. It opened to a grainy, scanned photo of Lily, blurry but unmistakable. The same girl from the photos in Evelyn's drawer. Black curls, one dimple, soft, hopeful eyes. She was laughing at something off camera. Clara swallowed hard. The caption read, "This was taken the day before she disappeared. I remember because she was wearing that ridiculous green beaded bracelet she made at camp. She never took it off." The green bracelet. Clara had seen it, caught the flash of it in a photo from the drawer, and something else had been odd in that picture. Daniel smiling, standing behind Lily, but her face wasn't smiling, not fully. There was tension in her jaw, and a bruise under her eye, just faint, just visible enough to cast doubt. Clara pulled out her phone, enlarged the copy of the photo she'd snapped last night. The bracelet was there. The bruise. And Daniel's hand, resting on her shoulder, too tightly, fingers pale from pressure. "Jesus," Clara muttered under her breath. The library suddenly felt colder. She looked around. No one was near her. Still, she felt watched, exposed. She emailed the link to herself, deleted the history, and logged out. Driving home, she caught herself checking the rearview mirror more than necessary. Back at the house, Daniel was in the garage, tinkering with something on his workbench. He looked up as she entered, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. "Hey," he smiled. "How were the errands?" She hesitated. "Fine. Just groceries." His eyes lingered on her longer than usual. "You okay? You look tired." "I didn't sleep well." Daniel nodded slowly. "Still thinking about my mom?" Clara forced a smile. "Yeah." He stepped forward, gently touched her cheek. "She liked you, you know." Clara nodded. "She said some things near the end that surprised me." Daniel tilted his head, curious. "Like what?" She looked into his eyes, those soft eyes that had once seemed so trustworthy. She thought about Evelyn's voice, about Lily's smile, about bruises and green bracelets and locked drawers. She smiled back. "Nothing important." Daniel leaned in and kissed her, and Clara kissed him back because now she knew. She couldn't let him suspect what she'd found. Not yet. The basement had always been off limits. In the early days of their marriage, Clara had joked about it. "Seriously, what's down there?" she had asked, half laughing. Daniel would smile with his easy charm and deflect. "Just tools, old junk, mold. It's disgusting. I keep it locked because I don't want you getting sick or attacked by mutant spiders." It was delivered with a wink, and Clara, naive and newly in love, hadn't pressed him. But now the door looked less like a nuisance and more like a sealed confession. It was a Tuesday morning, and Daniel was away off to a client meeting in the city, leaving behind a kiss on her temple and a thermos of coffee. Clara had waved him off with a smile, waited 10 minutes after the car pulled away, then gone straight to the garage. She knew exactly where he kept the spare keys now. She'd watched him once through the hallway. Mira noticed the subtle way he reached behind the old radiator panel when locking up for the night. The key was there. She gripped it tightly, heart pounding, every step toward the basement door louder than it needed to be. The lock gave with a click that seemed to echo through the house. She opened the door slowly. A gust of cold, stale air greeted her. The stairs were steep, the kind that looked older than the house itself. The light switch sparked for a second before the lone bulb flickered on, casting a jaundiced glow over the room. She descended. The basement was quiet, too quiet. Concrete floor, exposed pipes overhead. The walls were lined with old storage shelves filled with tools, paint cans, boxes marked Xmas and MISC. But it wasn't those things that drew her eye. It was the back wall. Something about it felt wrong. Clara walked forward, scanning the area, and spotted a faint seam near the corner. She knelt. The wall wasn't solid brick like the others. It was wood, painted to match but not quite perfect. Her fingers tapped along until they found a hollow sound. She stood and ran her hands across the surface. A thin vertical crack ran top to bottom, barely noticeable. To the side, under a hanging tarp, was a rusted iron ring embedded in the floor. She pulled. The wooden panel lifted like a trapdoor. The smell hit her first, stale air thick with dust, rot, and bleach. The darkness below yawned open like a mouth. She hesitated, then grabbed the flashlight from a nearby shelf and aimed it downward. Wooden steps descended into a smaller, hidden subcellar. She climbed down slowly. The room below was small, maybe 10 by 10 feet, with concrete walls and a single flickering bulb swaying gently overhead. It was colder down here, like the sun had never touched this place. The floor was covered in dirt. In the corner was a pile of bones. At first, she hoped they were animal, maybe from raccoons or strays, but the size of one femur suggested otherwise. She stepped closer. There was a black plastic bag near the wall. Something inside it was wrapped in cloth. She opened it. Clothing. A torn sweatshirt. Faded denim. A strip of green beads. Her breath caught. The bracelet. Lily's bracelet. Clara's stomach lurched. She backed away, hand over her mouth. Against the wall, there was a mirror cracked, its frame splintered. On the surface, someone had scrawled words in what looked like red paint. But Clara wasn't sure. She knew. She turned and ran back up the steps, nearly tripping. She closed the trapdoor, replaced the tarp, wiped the iron ring clean of her fingerprints. Back upstairs, her hands were shaking so badly she nearly dropped her phone as she opened her text messages. She was about to call the police, but then the screen lit up. "Daniel, flight got canceled. I'm driving back. Be home in 15. Clara froze. 15 minutes. She raced to the bathroom and scrubbed her hands, face, and clothes. She dumped the flashlight in the laundry hamper. She glanced at the clock. 12 minutes left. When Daniel walked through the front door, she was in the kitchen pouring tea, hands steady, face neutral. He came up behind her and kissed her neck. "Miss me?" "Of course," she whispered, but her eyes never left the knife block. And beneath the floor, the secrets of a vanished girl whispered through the cracks. Clara didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed beside Daniel, who dozed like a man without a care in the world, his arm draped possessively over her waist. She could feel the pulse in her own neck, fast, erratic, terrified. Her body was still. Her thoughts were not. The image of the green beaded bracelet swam behind her eyelids every time she blinked. That trapdoor, the bones, the words written on the cracked mirror. She knew. Lily had known. Evelyn had known. And now Clara knew, too. By sunrise, she had made a decision. She waited until Daniel went for a run. He always ran 3 miles on Fridays, never skipped. Like clockwork, she watched him jog down the street, his navy hoodie bouncing with each confident stride. As soon as he turned the corner, she grabbed her purse, the flash drive she'd loaded with pictures from the basement and Evelyn's diary. She drove fast, too fast. The local police station was small, just 5 officers and a secretary who greeted her with forced cheer. "I need to speak to someone about a cold case," Clara said, holding up the diary like a badge. "I have serious concerns." Officer Hardy, a tall man with a receding hairline, and sleepy eyes led her into a back office. She explained every finger tried. The photos, the hidden cellar, the bracelet, Evelyn's last words. He listened. He took notes. And when she finished, he gave her a look that made her feel like a child reporting monsters under the bed. "This is certainly compelling," Hardy said slowly, "but there's no body. And without a warrant, we can't confirm any of what you say is even there." "I can take you," she insisted, heart pounding. "Right now, I can show you. We'd need more than just suspicion to get authorization. And I'm not saying you're wrong," he added quickly, sensing her frustration. "But we get cases like this. Family drama, grief. You'd be amazed how often it turns into misunderstandings." Clara left furious. Not shocked, just furious. They wouldn't believe her. Not yet. She sat in her car in the station parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel. Then she remembered someone else. Evelyn's lawyer. Evelyn had mentioned him once in passing. "If anything happens, I've arranged everything with Mr. Whitmore." Clara had brushed it off at the time, but now the name rang like a bell in her head. She found his number online and called immediately. "Miss Dawson," he said when she introduced herself. "I was wondering when you might call." Clara blinked. "You were?" "Yes. Your mother-in-law left instructions that I was only to contact you if you reached out. She said, if you did, then it meant the time had come." His voice was calm. Too calm. They met 2 hours later in his office, a small, neat space, stacked high with law books and smelling of polished leather and dust. Mr. Whitmore was in his 60s, thin with wire-rimmed glasses and a demeanor like a banker from a noir film. He handed Clara a sealed envelope with Evelyn's handwriting on the front. "Clara, for your eyes only." She opened it. Inside was a typed, notarized letter. The language was clear, legal, but what it said made Clara's hands go cold. "To whom it may concern, if I am found dead under sudden or suspicious circumstances or shortly after disclosing the contents of this document to my daughter-in-law Clara Dawsonet, is my belief that my son Daniel Hayes is directly or indirectly responsible. My son is not well. He has hidden the truth for years. He is manipulative, charismatic, and I fear dangerous. In July of 2004, Lily Carter, a young girl and Daniel's then-girlfriend, went missing. I found bloody clothing in our basement shortly after. I confronted him. He laughed. I told the police I had no knowledge. I was afraid. I have lived in fear of my son since that day. Clara, if you are reading this, then you've begun to suspect what I've always known. Use this letter. Use my journals. Protect yourself. I am sorry I didn't do more. Evelyn M. Hayes. Clara's breath caught in her throat. She looked up at Whitmore. Can I use this to go to the police? I've already filed a digital copy with my firm's insurance, he replied. If anything happens to you, it will go public. Then he leaned forward. But Clara, don't wait for the system to save you. Prepare yourself. The words chilled her more than the letter. That night, Clara didn't go home. She checked into a hotel near the edge of town. She used cash, changed her number, sent Daniel a quick message. Staying at Lisa's girls' night, you'll survive. He replied with a laughing emoji and a heart. But Clara didn't sleep. Instead, she packed a bag, made copies of the letter and diaries, and emailed everything to a private account, with a delayed send setting just in case. She stared at the hotel ceiling for hours, her thoughts a storm. Daniel had fooled everyone, but he hadn't fooled Evelyn in the end. And now she had passed her burden to Clara. The only question was, would she survive it? Morning broke gray and heavy. The air outside the hotel window was still, as if the world were holding its breath. Clara sat at the small desk in her room, staring at the burner phone she'd bought the night before. The plan was simple. Get to the lawyer's office, hand over everything she hadn't yet, and then vanish. Not forever, just long enough to build a wall between her and Daniel. Time to let the truth surface. Time to let the weight of Evelyn's words finally crush him. She had the bag packed clothes, flash drive, the originals of Evelyn's letter and the photographs. keys in hand. One last look around the room to make sure she hadn't left anything. Then the phone buzzed. Unknown number. Where are you? Clara's stomach dropped. Seconds later, the hotel phone rang. She stared at it, frozen. It rang again. Again. She picked up. Hello? Silence. Then his voice. Clara. Her knees nearly buckled. Daniel, how did you? She began. But he cut her off, calm and soft like always. I called Lisa. She said she hasn't seen you. You lied to me. Clara didn't answer. You've been in the house, Daniel said after a pause. In the basement. I told you not to go down there, he said, voice still infuriatingly calm. That was private. You're a murderer, Clara whispered. The silence stretched. Then, chillingly, he laughed. Do you know how many times I've heard that word? He said. From my mother, from Lily, and now from you. It's always the same. I'm going to the police, she said. No, you're not. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply said it like a fact. Because I'm already outside. Her heart stopped. Clara moved to the window slowly, pushed aside the curtain, and saw his car parked across the lot, driver's side door open. He was here. He found me. Clara dropped the curtain and backed away, her breath caught in her chest. She grabbed her bag and bolted, heart pounding like thunder in her ears. No time for the elevator. She raced down the stairwell, 2 steps at a time, ignoring the ache in her legs, the weight of the bag dragging her shoulder. She burst through the back exit of the hotel onto the alley behind the building. Adrenaline flooded her. She didn't look back. Across the street was a gas station. She sprinted toward it, waving frantically as she ran. The attendant stepped out, startled. Please, she gasped. He's trying to kill me. Call the police. The man hesitated for a split second, then ran inside to grab the phone. Clara crouched behind a dumpster, hand over her mouth. Footsteps echoed slow, deliberate. Daniel's voice rang out, closer than it should have been. Clara, come on, don't do this. You don't know what you're getting into. She didn't move, didn't breathe. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. I really didn't. But now you've left me no choice. A door slammed. Tires screeched. Sirens. She peeked around the corner and saw flashing lights. 2 cruisers. Officers jumping out with weapons drawn. Daniel stood in the open, hands raised, but his eyes were on her. Calm. Cold. Unblinking. 3 weeks later, the news was everywhere. Body found beneath suburban home, identified as missing teen Lily Carter. Evelyn Hayes' dying words lead daughter-in-law to expose son's dark secret. Daniel Hayes arrested on multiple charges, including first-degree murder. They had found more than just Lily's remains in the cellar. Journals, trophies, personal effects from other girls the police hadn't even known were missing yet. He was being held without bail, and prosecutors were already preparing for a capital murder trial. Clara watched it unfold from a quiet town 200 miles away. A different name on her mailbox, a different state on her license plate. She had vanished. But she hadn't run blindly. She had escaped the way Evelyn had wanted her to. The way Evelyn couldn't. One morning, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a small velvet box. She opened it. The green beaded bracelet, cleaned, restored, and beneath it, a note in Evelyn's unmistakable cursive. For surviving what I could not. Clara stared at it for a long time, the bracelet warm in her palm, her fingers trembling. She hadn't just survived, she had ended it. We have come to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more interesting stories.